Once upon a time, this area was inhabited by a renowned blacksmith who operated a shop where he sold meticulously crafted equipment. However, his fortunes changed when he received an opportunity to sell his weapons to the Kingdom of Cairo, propelling him to a higher social standing. As a result of his efforts during the war, the blacksmith was appointed as a baron, marking the beginning of a new era for the land and becoming the father of a young boy named Master Roman. Recently, Roman discovered that he was the youngest son of the Dimitry clan, which piqued his curiosity about the martial arts world. His inquisitive nature surprised the butler, who suspected Roman of being involved with drugs. Nevertheless, the butler changed the subject and informed Roman that he had a blind date with a lady from the Lawrence family. Despite the butler's instructions, Roman disobeyed and prioritized a more important matter. He commanded the butler to accompany him to meet the oldest resident in the neighborhood, explaining his reasons for being there. Upon hearing the old man's story, Roman began to grasp fragments of understanding. Roman, whose true name was Baek Joong-Hyuk, had once been a master of martial arts. After achieving his life's goal, he had prepared for a peaceful death, yet he somehow awoke in the body of a young man named Roman. Suddenly, a commotion erupted in the street as a young boy was being assaulted. The butler rushed to the boy's aid and informed Roman that the assailants were members of a lone shark group called the Blood Fangs, known for operating in the Dimitry region. It seemed that the other boy was being subjected to such brutality due to his failure to repay a borrowed sum on time. Moved by the situation, Roman intervened, despite his noble status. The Blood Fangs disregarded Roman, which ignited his anger, and he called for Butler Hans to join him. Still unfamiliar with the rules of this world, Roman requested that Hans explain the laws to the assailants, emphasizing that they couldn't continue to harm the other boy, even if he had made a mistake by borrowing money without repaying it. The disrespect shown by the attackers towards the nobility proved to be their downfall, as Roman swiftly punished them. Witnessing Roman's decisive action, the Blood Fangs became terrified and swarmed him, a reaction that Roman welcomed. This turn of events astonished Hans and raised doubts about whether this person was truly the young Master Roman. As Roman awakened in this new body, he found himself able to perceive the original owner's intentions. During the ongoing war in the Kingdom of Cairo, the royal family issued a mandate for each clan to send a representative. Roman was selected to represent his region. In the past, Roman had contemplated taking his own life out of fear, but now things had changed. As long as he maintained control over his current body, he could continue living independently, evoking fear in everyone around him. Roman mercilessly eliminated all those who wielded fangs, boldly proclaiming his name and challenging anyone who held a grudge against him to confront him at any time. With his unimaginable strength, Baek Joong-Hyuk rose to the pinnacle of martial arts, defeating countless opponents who sought to challenge him. Despite his noble existence, Roman felt somewhat disheartened because he now had to confront street thugs. He instructed Hans to summon the guards to handle the situation, gazing at his feeble body with boredom. It was so weak that he needed to quickly cultivate additional meridians. At that moment, the beaten youngster approached Roman and expressed gratitude for saving him. However, Roman promptly corrected the boy, stating that he hadn't saved anyone, he had merely punished those who dared to violate the region's laws. He requested that the boy provide a thorough explanation. The boy's parents had been in need of money and had turned to the Fangs for a loan. If they could sell their goods, they would have been able to repay the debt. Unfortunately, the Blood Fangs arrived and destroyed the boy's family farm, leaving his parents burdened with a substantial debt. Additionally, they had also kidnapped the boy's sister. The boy fell to his knees and implored Roman to save his sister. In that fleeting moment, Roman locked eyes with the boy, sensing that his future would be entwined with him. Meanwhile, Flora, Roman's fiancée, was preparing to depart for the domain. Although she wasn't particularly fond of the arrangement, Flora's father had proposed the marriage as a means to bring stability to the clan. Originally, Flora had planned to wed the second young master of the Dimitry family, but everything had been disrupted by the youngest son of that family. While others viewed Roman as a useless member of the clan who merely enjoyed life, Flora refused to accept that and was determined to make a difference. Roman, aware of how he was perceived, surprised Flora by immediately agreeing to her proposition. He assured her that he would take full responsibility this time, knowing that whether or not he was guilty of breaking off the previous engagement wouldn't matter. As Roman went to inform his father, Mr. Dimitry erupted in fury and shouted at him. Mr. Dimitry, who was Roman's father, had always worked hard to provide the best life possible for Roman, even arranging a marriage with Flora to spare him from battle. However, now that the battle was over, Roman would be obligated to join the battlefield within the next 6 months. The Blood Fangs, a group even Dimitry wouldn't dare touch, were poked by Roman, and he would have to face the consequences alone. Roman nodded quickly and left. Overhearing the conversation, Flora realized that Roman was acting irrational even before attempting to confront the Blood Fangs, which meant he would be pursued by them throughout the kingdom. Flora suggested that Roman return home and seek his father's help, which irritated Roman as he questioned why he had to do that. Roman then turned to Lady Flora and reminded her of her position just moments before he finished dealing with the Blood Fangs. Butler Hans alerted Roman that his fiancée was on her way, forcing Roman to dress up and apply perfume to mask the scent of blood in order to meet her. Being new to this world, having someone by his side only made things more troublesome for Roman, so he wanted to break off the engagement without embarrassing Flora. However, after talking to her, he realized that she didn't respect him, and as a result, he felt he didn't need to respect her either. He reminded Flora that, from the moment he decided to annul the engagement, she no longer had the right to interfere with his decisions. He declared that going forward, they were no longer related and turned to leave. That night, Roman's father solemnly recounted to his wife how he used to mistreat Roman when he was still a commoner, frequently subjecting him to physical abuse. However, after becoming an aristocrat, he made a promise to himself that he would never let his son endure such treatment again. Lihanna, Roman's mother, tried to encourage her husband, reminding him that as parents, they didn't want anything to happen to their child, even if they claimed not to care. Understanding that the Blood Fangs were a notorious gang and that Roman couldn't defeat them alone, Roman's father decided to seek the assistance of Captain Jonathan. The following day, Roman roamed the streets, and Butler Hans followed him, advising him to return home as it was dangerous to wander around like that. There was a constant threat of revenge from the Blood Fangs. Roman smiled and showed something amusing to Hans, acknowledging the fearsome reputation of the Blood Fangs, but emphasizing that they would only be noteworthy if they could make him tremble. Roman then took Hans to a fancy restaurant, ordered a full table of food, and allowed Hans to eat first before leaving. From this point forward, Roman decided to investigate the matter on his own, as it was too dangerous for Hans to accompany him. He told Hans that if he truly supported him, he needed to pay attention to his instructions. With that, Roman departed. Over the past few days, Roman had gathered more information about the Blood Fangs. While their individual strength was ordinary, their ability to operate in groups made it challenging to apprehend them all. Roman knew they had to be neutralized now to avoid potential repercussions if they failed to capture him. Coincidentally, it was training day for the local guards, and since there were only a few guards in town, this was the opportune moment for the Blood Fangs to seek revenge. As Roman entered the alley, the Blood Fangs ambushed him. Hans quickly rushed to call Captain Jonathan, desperately pleading for him to rescue the young master. However, Roman didn't require any assistance to handle the 3 Blood Fangs that confronted him. With just a few moves, he had already slain one of them, leaving the rest visibly shaken. Roman's strength far surpassed their expectations. Hans made every effort to convince Captain Jonathan that it was only Roman who had gone in search of the Blood Fangs, but they found it hard to believe that someone as weak as young Master Roman would dare to confront them. Nonetheless, Hans persisted in confirming the truth, assuring them that he had no reason to deceive them. Jonathan recalled the words of the Lord, acknowledging that he needed to gather his warriors to protect Roman. He entrusted Hans to lead the way, vowing that as long as he was around, no one would dare to harm the young master. However, deep inside, Jonathan harbored his own thoughts, aware that if what Hans said was true, Roman would not have spared him at this point in time. Roman, witnessing the Blood Fangs trembling in terror, grinned and urged them to hurry up, as he still had tasks to attend to. The vengeful Blood Fangs, having suffered enough humiliation, eagerly sought revenge on their fallen comrades. Roman deftly evaded their sword strikes, stabbing one in the thigh and kicking the other away. Now that only one opponent remained, they posed no threat to him. Roman approached the last man, pressing a knife against his thigh, demanding answers about their boss. After extracting the information he sought, Roman returned to the restaurant, his body covered in blood, startling everyone inside. Roman walked directly to the counter and requested a glass of Dawn's Tears, a specific code he had decoded earlier based on instructions given by a member of the Blood Fangs. However, the the person behind the counter suddenly brandished a knife and called on others to attack him. Roman swiftly punched the counter's leader in the face, incapacitating them, and dealt with the others who rushed forward, leaving them with swollen eyes. The uninvolved patrons hastily fled the bar, seeking the guards to apprehend Roman. In a flash, Roman dispatched the 3 remaining blood fangs, leaving onlookers questioning the accuracy of the rumors that portrayed him as useless. His mastery of martial arts allowed him to enhance his strength by utilizing his breath, a secret he was well aware of. Consequently, Roman's strength had significantly improved within a short period, though it still didn't match his previous physical state. The remaining blood fangs rushed to attack him upon realizing he was alone, but Roman merely grinned, considering them nothing more than mosquitoes. The pub owner, who had been unconscious for a while, eventually awakened to find the place in complete disarray. Roman approached the man and informed him that there were a few things he needed to know. Before long, Captain Jonathan arrived, taken aback by the scene before him. The guards discovered a man on the 2nd floor who claimed that Roman was responsible for everything and had entered Lawan's territory. Roman tied the counter's leader to a chair and subjected him to abuse for an hour, yet the man remained stubborn, refusing to reveal any further information. He fearlessly proclaimed that the Blood Fangs would seek revenge, as Roman had predicted. Individuals willing to die for others often held valuable and vital information. Despite the man's resilience, Roman anticipated that his resolve would eventually waver. To employ another psychological tactic, Roman noticed a picture of a father and his son displayed next to the counter. With a smirk, he warned the man that unless he spoke up, Roman would resort to harming the child depicted in the photo. Recently, Roman had come across intriguing information revealing that many of the Blood Fang's servants were not inherently wicked but rather individuals burdened by immense debt. The Blood Fangs exploited their predicament, ruthlessly targeting the families of debtors until the bitter end, transforming them into slaves. Roman cautioned the man to exercise caution, emphasizing that his words were not intended as a mere intimidation tactic. Under the alias Dimitry, he pledged to send his men to uncover and eliminate the Blood Fangs. Each person was granted a second chance, but the question remained, would the man protect the Blood Fangs to safeguard his son or divulge everything, enabling Roman to personally confront the Blood Fangs? In the meantime, the Blood Fangs' master became aware of the news. Initially planning to enhance their position by executing Roman, they now found it absurd that someone seemingly incompetent had eradicated one of their branches. Intelligence reports indicated that Roman had recently left the Dimitry region, leading them to assume that he had already obtained crucial information about the state from the other branch and might be en route to their location. The master swiftly dispatched an army, determined to eliminate Roman before Captain Jonathan's guards arrived. Meanwhile, the Lawrence region faced its own troubles, engaging in hostilities with the Barco clan, which threatened to escalate into a full-fledged war. The Lawrence family had always held a prominent position within the kingdom, but now their safety was jeopardized due to the Barco family's unwillingness to compromise. If conflict were to erupt, it would draw the involvement of other clans. Consequently, the Lawrences were compelled to make thorough preparations to confront their adversaries. Additionally, they had desired a marriage alliance between their daughter and the second young master of the Dimitry family. Despite being a minor family, the Dimitrys were among the wealthiest in the Northeast. This ensured that no matter how much money the Barco family borrowed, they could never match the Dimitry family's wealth. Flora, standing outside the room, overheard everything. With the cancellation of the marriage, she realized she would no longer be able to see her father. The guards swiftly relayed the message that Captain Jonathan had dispatched troops upon learning of Roman's arrival, demanding that the Lawrences open their gates. When they refused, Jonathan's men resorted to forcefully breaking down the gate. In the center of the street, Roman forcefully dragged a man, while the square bustled with onlookers. Despite the man's desperate pleas for mercy, Roman remained indifferent. The leader of the Blood Fang clan initially underestimated Roman, assuming him to be an ignorant aristocrat. With his numerous soldiers and formidable weaponry, the leader believed Roman would be in peril if he ventured there. However, Roman swiftly proved him wrong. Single-handedly, Roman eliminated every member of the Blood Fang state, leaving only the leader trembling in fear. The leader implored Roman for mercy, vowing to comply with any request if his life was spared. Nevertheless, Roman delivered a powerful punch to the leader's face, proclaiming himself the head of the Fang state. He declared that everyone must already be aware of the heinous nature of these people. Not only did they harm the residents of the Lawrence territory, but they also posed a threat to the inhabitants of the Dimitry region. Their unscrupulous methods extended to even threatening the lives of nobles. The leader's guilt was undeniable, and Roman had no reason to spare him. Roman promised to execute the leader in front of the gathered crowd. Just as Captain Jonathan arrived, Roman fulfilled his promise and executed the leader. The soldiers then recounted the entire story, explaining how they had allowed Roman to enter the castle only an hour earlier. However, the act of capturing and executing the blood-fanged state leader in front of everyone was deemed absurd. Moreover, Roman had acted unilaterally without consulting Lord Lawrence, making it impossible to overlook the situation. Nevertheless, Lord Lawrence held a different opinion, recognizing Roman's incredible ability to confront the vicious blood-fangs alone. He ordered the guards to summon Roman to the conference room, desiring to personally hear Roman's account of the events. Lawrence accompanied Roman to bypass certain formalities, instructing him to get straight to the point. Outside the conference room, Lady Flora was perplexed and called the guards to inquire about why Roman had appeared in her father's room. Lawrence grew irritated, as Roman had no authority to carry out executions in the area. However, Roman responded that he had taken the action out of concern that Lord Lawrence would be unable to apprehend the leader, prompting him to act independently. Roman couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. After all, he had assisted Lawrence and expected some appreciation rather than reproach. However, he had to wait until he had left Flora's father's presence. To his surprise, Flora's father chuckled and commented on Roman's strong character. He even mentioned that if Roman were to become Flora's husband, he would surely make a grand gesture with this liver. Flora's father then instructed the butler to summon Flora, intending to personally inform her about the whole situation. While on his way back to Dimitry territory, Jonathan remained fearful that Baron Lawrence would angrily send troops after them. However, Roman was confident that wouldn't happen because Lawrence, based on his demeanor, still hadn't realized that his engagement with Flora had been called off. Jonathan trembled as he heard that Roman had devised a brilliant plan to avoid punishment before entering Lawrence territory. In fact, the person standing before Jonathan now was not the same as the young Master Roman at all. Roman had a difficult childhood since he was one of the 12 children of the heavenly demon, destined to inherit from him eventually. However, the heavenly demon forced his children to fight among themselves for the right to inherit. In order for Roman and his 12 brothers to prove their strength, they had to engage in battles. The winner would then inherit everything, and the heavenly demon didn't care if they lived or died. If they all perished, he would simply produce more offspring. This period was particularly challenging for Roman, as unlike other children who were cherished by their parents, he was abandoned by his own father and sent to a world where only the powerful survived. Returning to reality, Roman relaxed in the bathroom after arriving in Dimitry territory. His body felt exhausted, although it was much stronger now. However, he had encountered numerous new experiences in this world, the majority of which were related to the blood fangs. Roman was prepared to eliminate them all, without remorse, anyone who dared to hinder his progress. After all, he had experienced this emotion countless times in his previous life, where he had to eliminate anyone who posed a threat to him. It was his way of life in his former existence, and nothing had changed now that he inhabited Roman's body. However, he acknowledged that his current strength was insufficient to reach his ultimate goals. If he continued to act recklessly, he would be in danger. Roman was unsure about his next steps when suddenly someone appeared and informed him that the Lord wanted to see him. Jonathan had informed Lord Dimitry of everything that had transpired in Lawrence's region and had received confirmation that young Master Roman had indeed changed and was no longer the Roman they had known. Lord Dimitry had taken Roman in as his own child, and Roman was the only one who spent time with him when he was still a civilian. Roman had always been a dutiful and respectful child, and Lord Dimitry wanted to provide him with the best life possible so that the other children wouldn't see him as disadvantaged. However, when Roman went missing, Lord Dimitry was unable to intervene. He had almost given up hope in Roman, but hearing Jonathan's account reignited a spark of hope within him. Lord Dimitry was willing to assist Roman at any cost, as long as he achieved his goal of dealing with the blood fangs. Roman turned to look at Lord Dimitry and could sense the excitement in his expression. Roman knew that what he was about to reveal would surpass the Lord's expectations, but it would also come back to haunt him. In the past, Roman had learned the lesson that if he made it clear he was superior to others, they would be afraid and keep their distance. When confronted with Lord Dimitry's question, Roman confidently stated that he had single-handedly exterminated the entire Fang gang. Jonathan then escorted Roman to the training school in the domain. When they arrived, everyone greeted the captain respectfully, their gazes shifting towards Roman. They were puzzled as to why Roman was brought there. Jonathan called everyone over and announced that they would begin sword training with young Master Roman. Anyone who wanted to participate simply had to step forward. This surprised everyone, as they wondered how the captain expected them to practice swordsmanship with someone they considered a fool. Lord Dimitry had a question about how Roman managed to bring down the blood fangs. Roman carefully thought about his response and gave a logical explanation to avoid arousing suspicion. He concocted a story about secretly practicing swordsmanship while being lost for a long time, highlighting his ability to achieve great things. However, Lord Dimitry remained skeptical. Even if Roman had learned sword magic, he couldn't have reached the level required to eliminate the Blood Fang gang. Roman had a counter-argument prepared. He explained that the gang operated primarily through usury and intimidation of debtors, with the leader holding all the authority. Roman only needed to take down their leader, and the gang would crumble. They were an organization that preyed on the vulnerable, and since Roman had been seen as just a fighter by others, they didn't realize his true power. That's why Roman took it upon himself to lure them in and take down their subordinates. Roman made it clear that he wouldn't seek revenge against the Blood Fang's leader, as they were primarily the ones who had oppressed him. Lord Dimitry was astonished by Roman's statements and prepared himself for a bold and decisive action. He couldn't have anticipated that his son had grown so much. Intrigued, Lord Dimitry requested that Roman demonstrate the swordsmanship he had learned. No one dared to challenge Roman, while Jonathan observed patiently. It wasn't because they were afraid of losing to him, but rather because if they defeated Roman, they would be expelled from the area. Jonathan also sought a skilled opponent who could defeat Roman to both validate the young master's abilities and maintain the reputation of the knighthood. However, as the captain, Jonathan couldn't be the one to face Roman in combat. There was only one person who could handle this situation, and Jonathan asked Chris, the vice-captain of the Knights, to confront Roman. Chris had encountered Roman a year ago when Roman had started a fight at a tavern. Chris had gone there to bring Roman home, but a drunken Roman had slapped him in the face, causing no damage. This had convinced Chris that Roman had never received any training, and he held nothing but scorn for him since then. Chris couldn't refuse the captain's request, so he stepped forward. Before the match began, Chris declared that he wouldn't yield to anyone, not even young Master Roman. Roman agreed, and the match commenced. Chris intended to teach Roman a lesson during the practice match. He attacked Roman with a powerful swing, but to everyone's surprise, Roman managed to catch the blow. Chris quickly retrieved his sword and retreated to his original position, preparing to strike again. The force of Roman's counterattack and his impeccable defensive posture caught Chris off guard. He hadn't expected this turn of events and wasn't sure if Roman was simply lucky or if there was more to his skill. Nevertheless, all Chris cared about in this match was knocking Roman out. Chris lunged forward, slashing at Roman with a vertical downward strike. However, Roman managed to swiftly dodge to the side. Undeterred, Chris pursued, slashing in the direction of Roman's dodge, but once again, Roman evaded the attack and launched a counterattack. Reacting quickly, Chris moved behind Roman, believing it to be a trap with no escape. However, to his surprise, Roman managed to dodge once again. From beneath, Roman thrust his sword, catching Chris off guard. Chris was able to dodge, but Roman had already grazed a few strands of hair. It was at this moment that Chris realized he had underestimated Roman's strength throughout the fight. From his defensive dodges to his powerful counterattacks, Roman displayed a formidable skill that made Chris consider the possibility of Roman defeating the entire Blood Fang gang on his own. Despite these thoughts of potential defeat, Chris tried to convince himself that his opponent was merely a naive young master. As the vice-captain of the knighthood, he couldn't afford to fail in front of everyone. However, Roman sighed, feeling that he had warmed up enough and decided it was his turn to take the initiative. Roman rushed towards Chris, catching him off guard and forcing him to repel the attack. Chris marveled at Roman's frightening speed, wondering how he could be so swift. But Roman didn't stop there. He unleashed a relentless flurry of strikes, leaving Chris only able to defend and endure the blows. In this situation, counter-attacking seemed impossible for Chris. Realizing that he was in danger if things continued like this, Chris desperately searched for a solution. However, Roman didn't give him any respite, delivering a slash that forced Chris to retreat and focus on defense. It was at this moment that Chris recognized the weaknesses exposed by Roman's relentless pursuit, particularly his chest area, which was vulnerable. Acting swiftly, Chris thrust his sword directly towards Roman's chest, believing he had found an opening. To his surprise, Roman simply smiled and dodged to the side. It became clear that this was all part of Roman's plan. He had deliberately revealed the weakness to entice Chris into attacking, allowing him to counter accordingly. Chris's attack missed its mark, causing him to lose momentum, while Roman poised to strike his sword towards Chris's head. Refusing to accept defeat from such an incompetent young master, Chris's sword began emitting a surge of energy, indicating that something was amiss. In a desperate attempt to intervene, Jonathan shouted for Chris to stop, but it was too late to undo the move. As the smoke cleared, Chris realized that Roman was unharmed, a realization he had missed earlier. Seizing the opportunity, Roman swung his sword, sending Chris flying and declaring victory for himself. Chris, known as Jonathan's student and the vice-captain of the Knights due to his inherent talent, was widely recognized for his achievements. Rumors spread about Chris's exceptional abilities, such as becoming a 2-star knight at a young age and experiencing the effects of mana after only 2 years of practice. He had advanced to the rank of a 1-star knight in just 3.5 years. Despite Jonathan's offer to take a break from training, Chris insisted on continuing, impressing his master with his natural talent and unwavering work ethic. Chris was undeniably a prodigy with the sword. However, the defeat at the hands of young Master Roman, whom everyone regarded as a mere troublemaker until recently, completely shattered Chris's reputation. Lord Dimitry, unable to comprehend the situation, had previously lauded Chris as the most exceptional 2-star Aura Knight in the region. Jonathan, too, struggled to understand what had transpired. Roman's swift and precise movements were far beyond what Jonathan believed could be achieved in such a short time. He realized that Roman must possess an innate genius with the sword. After the match, Roman shifted his attention towards Chris. He recognized Chris's true strength and understood that Chris had the capability to eliminate the entire Blood Fang gang single-handedly. Jonathan now comprehended why he held such pride in Chris. Perhaps the standards set by others were ordinary, but Roman's exceptional talent set him apart. Jonathan acknowledged that Chris, despite his own skills, was still too weak to match Roman. The final move had taken Roman by surprise as well. In that moment, the new lord, filled with pride, called his son over. Jonathan, unable to explain Roman's rapid progress, could only apologize to the lord for failing to recognize the true talent of the young master. The lord beamed with pride, overwhelmed by his son's achievement. He felt compelled to offer Roman a well-deserved gift. However, Roman surprised everyone by instantly expressing his desire to join the army. Despite the lord's belief that Roman did not want to engage in warfare, Roman had a different motive. He sought the lord's permission to have complete discretion in selecting his comrades. After making this request, Roman asked for another favor. At that moment, Roman was summoned by the proud new lord, who called his son over. Jonathan, unable to fathom the rapid progress Roman had made, could only apologize to the lord for failing to recognize the true talent of the young master. The lord had never been prouder and wanted to reward Roman accordingly. However, Roman's immediate announcement about joining the army contradicted the lord's belief. Nevertheless, Roman's true intention was not to go to war but to seek the lord's approval for selecting his comrades independently. He followed up with another request. Chris, startled, woke up when Jonathan asked him to teach Roman about aura. It was a direct order from the lord, so Jonathan couldn't refuse. However, Chris strongly resisted, still grappling with the fact that he had lost to someone like Roman. He felt the urge to bury himself in embarrassment. To persuade Chris, Jonathan struck a deal. He promised that after Chris taught Roman about aura, he would reveal all the secrets to Chris. Rumors of Roman defeating a 2-star knight had spread throughout the castle, but Roman remained unconcerned. His primary focus was understanding what aura truly meant. According to the butler's explanation, aura referred to the manipulation of mana. In the world Roman had come from, a similar energy existed, but it was utilized much more effectively.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more content. Feel free to leave a comment down below sharing your thoughts or suggestions. If you want to stay updated on all our latest uploads, click the notification bell icon. And hey, why not check out some of our other videos popping up on the screen right now? If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really means a lot. Peace.